Hey guys, my name is Brooklyn and this is
Kyro.
And today we're going to be doing a Q&A from some questions that we got from different social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So my girlfriend JoJo will be in the back giving us the questions and then we'll take turns answering. You want to go first or second?
Second.
Okay, so then we'll switch. Next question.
Yeah.
So I go first. Alright JoJo, what's the first question?
First question, gender expression and embodiment. How long did it take for you to really come into your femininity/masculinity after realizing you were trans or starting your transition?
Okay, for me, I say it's definitely an ongoing journey. It's not something that ends, but I say about 2 years into my transition is really where I felt comfortable. My friends did a great job with like inviting me into spaces and outings and things like that. So my friends helped out a lot, but within myself to just feel confident in the way that I expressed the spaces that I was in, I'd say about 2 years.
That's not bad. Okay. So honestly, I would say within about the first year, I started kind of like being solidified because again, like you said, you know, like having that support system, and I just kind of always, it just makes sense for me. Like it never gave that I was ever gonna like grow up and be a bad bitch or nothing like that anyway. So it was not a hard transition for the majority of like the people that I cared about. So it was pretty easy. So within about the first year, I was like, okay, cool, this is solid. This is what it is. This is what we're doing. And then now we're on 4 years and it's just regular, you know.
Okay, you 4 years in?
Well, this will be year 5 in September.
Okay. Mine was when I was 21.
Yeah.
So yeah, same time. That's pretty cool.
Around 2020 in September 2021, so I was about 22.
I started hormones in September 2021. That's cool. Alright, question 2.
Hormones, supplements, and health. This is a 3-part question. Part 1, do you take any vitamins or supplements alongside hormones?
Not necessarily, no, because I'm not a big fan of medicine, period. So the only thing that I do consistently put in my body would be my testosterone, because that's enough of a cheat code by itself. But I guess you could technically count like I use minoxidil and beard growth oils and stuff for like to boost, you know, the beard growth and stuff the way I want to. But other than that, no, I don't really take anything extra.
I don't do any vitamins. All I do is my HRT and that's it.
We got pretty lucky.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
For real.
Not much extra effort necessary.
What was the most surprising thing you experienced after starting hormones?
I'm trying to think of a YouTube-friendly way to say this. The random excitement that like I literally just be doing anything and it'd be nothing sexual in no way, shape, or form, and then little dude would just be like, hi, hello, what's going on out there? Like I was like, what the hell is that? That and the change in like my scent. Like I didn't necessarily like stink, but like my sweat smells stronger, my pee smells stronger. You know, like again, I know it's not like a odor, but it's definitely a difference, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I kind of experienced that same thing. My body odor definitely changed. It didn't get worse or better. It just was different. It was completely different. The most shocking thing for me has to be my shoe size changed. And my feet got smaller actually. And there was about like, I want to say like 4 pairs of shoes I had to get rid of, which really made me upset because those shoes were not cheap. But it's okay. But yeah, the most surprising thing for me was my shoe size changing because no one told me that at all.
Childhood and identity. How do you feel when you see photos of yourself as a child?
I actually think it's pretty cool to see photos of myself as a child because it looks like a completely different person. I share photos of myself as a child online all the time, and usually it's the thing that gets me the most likes and views. Like if I trendy sound, picture of young me, picture of me now, people go crazy. I love it.
Well, this one's an interesting question because you experienced the majority of my childhood with me being that you, my sister. So like I feel like you can kind of back me up when I say this, but like it's not much difference at all. I am essentially who I've always been. It's just it makes more sense now. Like the person matches the pronouns at this point, I guess you could say. So I think like the last time I allowed them to like put me in a dress or anything remotely girly was like 5th grade. Like, and that was literally just for pictures. But outside of that, I've always been like Tonka trucks, climbing trees, playing in dirt type of little boy. So,
I wish. 5th grade, I was still in my mom's heels when nobody was home.
so yeah, no, I just used to take my uncle clothes and I was like, yeah, y'all can give up on that whole Barbie girl thing because it's just not happening. And even though I didn't know what being trans was, I was still just like, that don't make sense. This does. This is what we're doing. It just is what it is. The only difference in between like childhood me and me now, I have a beard and a slightly deeper voice, but I still sound gay, so.
When you think about your child self, do you refer to that version of you as a different gender, or how do you personally view that?
It's really tricky because in the beginning, I would just like freeze and not know what to say or how to refer to myself, but then I also want to tell the story in its truest form. So sometimes I will use he when I'm saying like what people said because I don't want to alter people's language. But if I can, most of the time I would just try to use gender neutral terms.
Yeah, same. Or I'll just like refer to myself as like younger me or something, like, you know, I just try to leave pronouns out unless it's like absolutely necessary, even though it's not really like a super sore topic for me because, you know, I'm like very open about being trans, so like obviously there had to have been a before to be an L, so.
Yeah, there's so many ways to talk about a story and not have to use any pronouns, so that usually doesn't come up too much.
Alright, question number 4. Coming out and family. This one has multiple parts as well. Alright, part 1. When did you come out to your family? Before or after starting HRT?
I love your voice.
Yeah, it's very...
Stop being gay, please. Focus on the question.
I came out in like bits and pieces. So like the family that actually was important to me and that I like that mattered the most, I came out before I started HRT, just because like I said, I wasn't 100% sure how it would affect me. So like I didn't want it to surprise me and them, and then also be like, oh yeah, this is just what it is now, you know. So a little bit of both.
Yeah. For me, I came out to everyone well before HRT. To be honest, I would probably say that depending on your situation, you might not want to do that.
Yeah.
It really just depends on how supportive the people around you are. I was going to parties, and my friends would, whenever someone would use the incorrect pronoun and say he, my friends would literally be like, no, she. And like I was so early in my transition that you could not tell at all. I just looked like a little femboy, and everybody would be like, she who? And my friends would be like, she. And they're like, oh, okay, I got it. So yeah, I definitely came out way before I started HRT. Actually, a full year. It was actually a requirement for the military. Yeah. For me to be able to transition, I had to be out for a complete year.
See, I kind of experimented like with being out back and forth, and then I just realized that everybody around me knows me well enough that it was just not a difference for them. They were just like, okay, so like, what do you need me to do? Like, you know, like what's the difference here?
Yeah, mine was a little rough because I was very cocky, and it was it was a lot of explaining.
How did they receive it? So the family and the friends after coming out.
I would like to say it was 50-50, but it really wasn't. Like I said, the majority of everybody, at least the people that were important to me, they had, I would say everybody, I mean, you know, obviously including me, had some struggles as far as like the pronouns at first, but like the name change and just like they didn't treat me any differently, and for the most part everybody would correct themselves, and those who continued to slip up and it started to feel like it was intentional, they just got cut off. So like it wasn't too much of any backlash. And then we kind of discussed earlier how our dad had his difficulties with it at first, but eventually even he came around and he supports me at least to my face, and you know, like he makes me feel safe now. But at first he might have been the only one that I would say was kind of iffy. Everybody else that had any issues, they weren't even like essential, you know what I mean? Like they were in the vicinity, but they weren't a part of my village, so it didn't really matter whether they took it well or not.
Yeah, you can either get on board or get gone.
Pretty much.
For me, mine was wild. It was a rough journey. I came out as trans while I was married. Also, my family, like my dad's a pastor, his dad's a pastor. They thought I was gonna be a pastor. Obviously, that did not happen. So yeah, my parents, I cut my parents off. I had to. I haven't talked to my parents in years. Probably like 6 years at this point. I have so many friends that just became really weird. Treating me completely different. Like I had to get rid of a lot of friends. I had like people was questioning the person that I was with at the time. Her auntie, they was questioning her at her job, which like it was crazy. I was getting threats in my Snapchat. One of my cousins decided that because I came out, it personally offended him, so he needed to beat my ass for some reason. I don't know. Like the world was going crazy. I felt like I came out and everybody was like, "Oh, so you gay now?"
See, yeah, I
What
think
does it have
it's
to do
so
with
much
you,
more
though?
difficult to like come out and be a trans woman than it is to be a trans man. Cause like I said, I think even if I didn't have like so much support for real, it's really just not made as big of a deal for real. Like with gay dudes and lesbians, nobody cares if you're a lesbian or if you're a bisexual woman. But God forbid you be a gay or a bisexual man, and all of a sudden like the whole earth is shattered. Like what the hell is that? And I feel like it's kind of the same with trans women. Like it's just so much more terrible or so bad to like be a trans woman.
Definitely. I like people lost their minds. You would think that like I was making them transition. Like it was crazy.
Did you feel like you had to explain or educate them about being trans? So these same families and friends.
Yes.
Yes.
For the most part. Some of them, as far as friends go, they are also like within the LGBTQIA plus community, so they already had like some form of knowledge, and the only thing I had to educate them on was personally how to support me, what things made me dysphoric versus euphoric and things like that. But other than that, as far as family goes, again, we're siblings. You know, we come from a black household. Being gay and bisexual was barely discussed, so trans was never a thing, and I didn't even hear the term at all for real until I was like 19 and 20, which is ironic because I definitely had a trans friend in high school. We're still friends to this day, and it never clicked in my mind like what she actually had going on. Like I was definitely ignorant at the beginning of that friendship, so like that education helped me to educate people on my personal journey.
What's the question again?
The question was, did you feel like you had to explain or educate them, referring to friends and family, about your being trans?
Yes, I had to educate like every 2 seconds. So much so that I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just start posting about it now because I answer these questions so much, I might as well get something out of it and help some other people in the process. Like,
yes, that's
because like I know these are not the only people having these questions. Also, I made it very clear that my friends can ask me whatever question they wanted. It didn't even matter how like transphobic or homophobic the question may seem. If it was coming from a genuine place, I'll help you learn how to reword it. But like ask me the question, I'd rather, especially for the people in my circle, just to know and understand me more. And the more that they knew and understand me, the more the questions that I answered, the better the relationships got. Yeah. And most of my friends were really supportive. I lost a good bit of them, but the ones that matter, like you said, they're really supportive. Most of their questions is just trying to understand you more. Yeah. And then sometimes there's a lot of questions about sex because it's kind of just interesting.
I was about to say, yeah, that's always going to be anything involving anatomy or sexuality. Sex is always going to be like, so how you do it? you know, like what you do it with it, like all of that.
So wait, how that work?
So what goes where?
Every time people like, especially because I remember like I was working at Dollar General when I started my transition. So customers that like watch me transition, they'd be like not come in the store for a little while, and then they'd be looking at me, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm trans, I'm transitioning. And especially the women, first thing they do is go, so you got it. And I'm like, no, dude, I didn't go to Build-A-Dick. That's not how that works. That's just not how that works.
They're like, yeah, so are you going to get rid of it?
Yeah, like that. First of all, there's levels to this. There's a process. For some, it moves faster. For me personally, like that's just not even on my bingo card for real. But hey, we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, well, we actually will.
Yeah, that's what I was like, yeah. I mean, I say too much yet.
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about coming out to their family?
Is it your question or mine?
Is you to start first?
Honestly, I would say, first of all, my answer kind of somewhat depends on age. Like, I would never encourage anybody to stay in the closet, but coming out, especially in the South, has been proven to be a dangerous thing for whatever reason. So I would say make sure that they can handle that information before you divulge that. And in the event that they can't handle that information, have a backup plan, have a safety plan, and keep a therapist on standby because it can be pretty traumatic if it doesn't go right. Because like coming out can literally take the person that you thought of as a god and make them the lowest being you've ever seen in your life just based off of their reaction to how low they make you feel for your truth. So I would say proceed with caution, and be ready for whatever result, but stay true to yourself and follow your heart.
Great advice. I say really, you know your family, you know your friends, you know what they stand for, you know what they don't stand for. Like he said, do not put yourself in an unsafe situation, especially if you're relying on these people to pay for school, transportation, to live day to day. Wait till you get to a safe space to do that. But from there, really just information diet. You know what people can take, what information, you know what people can't, you know what people you can share everything with, and some people you just share a little bit of it with. And at a certain point, especially if you're transitioning, it's not really something you can hide. People will see you change differently. You're going to request different pronouns or different names. So, yeah. Right?
So really good
Just
answer.
give them what they can handle and what you can handle the repercussions of.
Facts.
Also, if you're outed as a minor, you do have counselors and teachers who can help you, and you should be talking to them.
Yeah, that's why I mean,
They will send people to your
have a
house.
safety net, have a safety system, and if your family doesn't feel safe to come out to people who are safe first and use them as a backup plan. Like, you know, if I go home and things go left, you know, am I safe here until things calm down or whatever the case may be? Because especially as a child or a teenager, because some people seem to think you can like pray or knock the gay away or the trans away. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel so terrible for kids in those situations because it's like you really only have the option of being who they tell you you are, or being who you are and just being abandoned. You know.
And I'll tell you, like, I moved out of my parents' house at a young age. I was literally homeless, and then went to the military as the only option to combat that homeless. Like, I had a 3.9 GPA. I had the grades to go to college. I didn't have the resources to go to college. I don't recommend that for anyone. A lot of people aren't as extreme as I am. If you could just use them to go ahead and get what you need, set yourself up, and come out later, much safer.
Do what you can so you can do what you want.
Right.
Question section number 5. Accessing hormones. What method do you take hormones? Injections, gel, pills, patches, or etc.?
Shots.
So I started out with the pills. That didn't really work. It never got my levels where it needed to be. I took estrogen pills and then testosterone blockers. The moment I took testosterone blockers, within like the first month, my testosterone was like, oh bitch, we wanted to break anyway. I'm gonna go all the way down. But my estrogen would not get where it needed. So then I tried the patches, and that just made my skin have rashes. You got little squares on the side. It looks weird. Ever since I started the shot, perfect. The only thing with the shot was I would never take my shot because it hurts too much. But now I don't have to do it. My girlfriend does it for me.
There you go. I was gonna say, yeah, I started with the injections and I still go with the injections. I've only done my own shot twice, and once was for TikTok. That 1 minute video took me 30 plus minutes to record because I was terrified to inject myself, even though it doesn't really hurt. It's just the thought and the visual of seeing that whole needle go in. But now, when I was with my son's mom, she would do my shot for me sometimes, but for the most part, my auntie does my shot, so it works fine. It works fine.
Actually, stabbing yourself is not easy.
Yeah, I can't do it, especially because I have to like watch myself do it. I can't do it, so I just let them do it. They do it on my butt cheek. I just play on my phone while they do it, and it's fine.
Yeah, I said that I hold a stuffed animal and close my eyes and just go, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah, I prefer when my auntie does it because she does it like quick, and like by the time I feel it, she's like, I'm done. My baby mama, she does that like countdown thing. And then she's like, don't clench your cheeks. You just told me you're about to stab me in my butt cheek. How can I relax?
Oh, you do yours in your cheeks?
Yes.
Oh, I do my thigh.
Well, I can see my thigh. I don't want to see it.
Okay, that makes sense. Check out.
Because then, like, and my thigh muscles are way stronger than my cheek muscles, so it's not going in.
It's just a lot harder to relax.
Yeah. We just go with the little muscle in the back that I don't have to pay attention to.
Next part of the same question about hormones. What clinic or provider do you use to access HRT?
So I started out with the military, and military paid for my HRT. They paid for my surgery. Like, military did great, and then just recently I got kicked off. Like, they don't pay for anything trans-related anymore. So then I went to Kai, and Kai helped me get in touch with Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood has been great.
I love them. They're so sweet. As she said, I get my hormones from Planned Parenthood. I started out and stick with Planned Parenthood. Shout out to my doctor. She's so sweet. All the nurses are very trans-friendly. Like, that's one of those doctors where you go and it's never really an uncomfortable moment. Even when they have to ask you the biological questions and things like that, they are very, very intentional about the pronouns and the language that they use to make sure you are as comfortable as possible. And it's very easy, very comfortable, very non-judgmental access, and very affordable.
Very, and they're very respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a lot of money, but it's not that bad.
So say for my hormone checkup without insurance, I think because I also did a couple of blood tests and things like that on top of just the regular checkup, it was maybe $205. And that's including taxes and everything, and that was for the entire visit, the test results and all of that stuff.
And that sounds expensive, but hormones can get way more expensive than that.
I was about to say, in some stages, just the hormones alone is $300 plus, and that's just for a 1 month supply. I think for moms without the insurance for a 3 month supply, I paid $50.
Yeah, there's plenty of trans girls I know that literally stopped their transition just because they couldn't afford the hormones, which you don't have to have hormones to be trans. It's an optional part. But some people feel that without the hormones, they don't feel confident enough to call themselves that, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. I just started a TikTok rant about that the other day.
Yeah, and also I'm going to Planned Parenthood soon for a vasectomy. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to do a video on that.
Fuck you!
Fact. Alright, Jojo. We're going to start over from question 6.
6, 7. Sorry. Bottom changes sexual function and intimacy.
And
These questions are explicit but educational, so answer what you're comfortable with. First part. What changes did you notice in your bottom anatomy after starting hormones?
That's it.
I can read the rest of the thing if you want me to as well.
So I'll just read all of it and then we just give it? Yeah.
Yeah, I do that.
Did any of your parts grow or reduce in size over time? Did sensitivity change? Were there any challenges with masturbation? Did orgasm or ejaculation feel different? Did it hurt to climax? That one's very specific. Did hormones affect your libido? Did you face any challenges being intimate with a partner because of physical changes?
Okay. So this will answer about 3 of those. As far as changes and growth go, my being grew into a baby carrot, like I said. So I got a little T-dick now, got a little length to me. Could poke a little hole or two. It definitely got a lot more sensitive, so that somewhat kind of changed the function of it. Not really. Made it a little bit better in some places, but it also kind of put a thin line in between pain and pleasure. Let's see. Read it again.
Yeah, if you want, I got a copy of it here. You can scroll through it.
Yeah. Okay. This is a change. Whether any changes with as far as changes with masturbation, I say the amount of times that I masturbated a day increased. For certain toys and things like that, I would have to switch up my positions a little bit more because of the sensitivity and the growth and the way everything functions now. But not too much for real. So that didn't really it wasn't a negative effect. It was just a little different. Did orgasms or ejaculation feel different? Felt a little more intense, felt a little more, magical than it did before because of all the sensitivity. Probably it was easier to get there and more intense when I got there. Let's see. Did it ever hurt to climax? No, but I think we did discuss earlier how if I didn't climax for a certain amount of time or like a certain amount of days, it would get very, very painful and it would just feel like a lot of pressure down there. So I'd have to go, knock that out right quick. Did hormones affect my libido? I would say yes, it increased versus how the doctor said it may decrease or cease to exist or whatever. It actually shot up. Did you face any challenges being intimate with a partner because of physical changes? Yes and no. Yes, because it decreased the amount of cis men that were an option just because of the whole respect and understanding aspect of, my anatomy and my pronouns and everything like that. But as far as like the function of sex and things like that, no, everything's pretty much the same.
What changes did I notice with my bottom anatomy after starting hormones? The beginning changes where I just noticed that it just functioned very differently, and it took some time to learn it, and I'll go into that throughout the rest of the points, but it definitely changes. Did any of your parts grow or reduce in size over time? I know a lot of times older people like to say that, if you don't use it, it's going to get smaller, and that's kind of true. It is a use it or lose it muscle. In the beginning, I noticed a lot in the reduction of the size. I stopped using that part of me. I kind of disconnected with it for a couple years. So I definitely noticed that it got smaller. When it did get hard, it never got as hard. And it just looked completely different. Like, there was a, I was going to say, I don't know if I'm going to keep this part in or not, but like, there was a measuring point of it passing my belly button, and then it didn't pass my belly button anymore. And I was like, okay, I'm not tripping. Like, I know I had to go back and look at old pictures, and I was like, this definitely got a lot smaller. But I started to use it a lot more frequently. And like my girlfriend behind the camera can attest now that it has grew a lot more. Like, all of that has came back full folds to the point where I was asking her, and I was like, okay, I'm not tripping. Like, it's been growing, right? Like, it looks bigger to me. Is it bigger to you? Like, and I was having to like remeasure and everything, because it is, and it will be very noticeable, and it can make you feel a certain type of way about it. Because especially if you just live with it being a certain size, whatever that size is, for a certain amount of time, and that change, that can be a lot to deal with. Did the sensitivity change? Yes. My orgasms are much more like full body orgasms. But when I was before hormones, it was literally just, we'll have sex, it'll feel good, I'll climax, then I'll go down, wait a couple seconds, give me a minute, and then we can go again. But now I have female orgasms where I feel it in my entire body. It is a full body experience. It is not just in that one area. And when I climax, I don't have to climax, stop, take a break. I just climax and keep going. Like, it doesn't go back down. It just stays up. We just keep going. Masturbation, like I said in the beginning, I disconnected from it. So I wasn't doing anything with it. A few years later, I kind of got more comfortable with myself and refound myself again. And then at that point, I would masturbate a lot more often. It never hurt, ever. So that was a question. My libido, I realized that my libido was a lot more connected to my emotional state. Prior to taking hormones, I could literally be at my mother's funeral and you could touch my thigh a certain way and I'm good to go. Like, it didn't matter how sad I was, it didn't matter what was going on, we could fuck. But now it's like, I have to feel comfortable with the person, I have to feel safe. I can't be too stressed about the outside world, like what's going on in my life and my emotional, like wherever I am emotionally, it really matters in how I can or can't perform sexually. And then the last part was, did you face any challenges being intimate with a partner because of physical changes? Yes, and the best way I can explain it is to break it in 4 parts. In the first part, when I was becoming aware of myself, the person that I was with, the sex felt like it wasn't really giving what I needed to give, so I tried to change some certain things that wasn't really blending well with the person I was with. Obviously, that relationship did not continue. After that, I disconnected with it for a while. I was having sex with men. I went boy crazy. But it was all just the back door. I wasn't using my front door at all. Anytime, I would let them know beforehand, like, hey, if this is what you're here for, if this is the part that excites you, this isn't going to work because I'm not going to use it. and then sometimes it will come up and they'll be like, oh my god, you said it didn't work, let's use it. And like the moment they point it out, it's back down, because why did you do that? I just told you that's not what we're doing. Then I was accepting like bottom of the barrel in some situations I wasn't in, especially being on Grindr, which goodness gracious, don't go to Grindr. After that, I got somebody that was just giving me just a little bit more, so I was feeling like, okay, this is a lot better, but it was not working. I had to take Viagra, I had to take Cialis, I had to take an Edex shot, which is literally like you gotta hold it and poke it with the injection and put in the medicine. It hurt so bad. And one time it went wrong and it started to grow a little bubble. The bubble was about this big, which like on your body, like that's a big bubble. That was scary. And it was like that way for like an hour or two before it went down. I was like trying to massage it. It was terrible. And I was like, I wanted to have surgery. And then we got to a point in our relationship where we opened the relationship. And then I started to realize, when I was talking to other people who were actually queer and people who were trans and people that I just felt more comfortable with, like I had no issues. And then I realized like, oh, it was you, it's not me. And now I'm in a relationship with my girlfriend and is much more supportive. I feel super comfortable and I have no issues at all. So if you are a trans person and you're thinking about having surgeries, and the reason that you're thinking about having surgeries is because the way that it's working, you know, think about your relationships and how comfortable you feel, because a lot of times it's just your relationship with sex has changed, and it's more than just if it works or if it doesn't work. Like, do I feel safe? Do I feel comfortable? How's my stress level? How's my life? Like, it's a lot more that goes into it. So the camera died on us. I don't know at what point it died, but all I was saying was thank you guys for watching the video. Me and Kyle will be making so many more of these in the future. Me and my girlfriend will be making more videos. Between the three of us, we're both just trying to really get on it on that social media content creation. So I really appreciate it. I'm gonna make sure I put all of our socials at the bottom, and I'll put it in the caption so you guys can actually just click on it and go straight to it. Anything you want to say?
No, not really. Like you said, we're gonna be collaborating a little bit more, or a lot more. And your girlfriend's my sister, so we're gonna do some content together sometimes too. Even though I don't really get on camera with her often, because people always think that
y'all are the same person.
Yeah, and I don't know how. Like, if we're in the video or picture together, how is that?
They're like, oh, is that pre-transition you? No, that's a different person.
Like piercings in the face and all. But I digress. Y'all will see a lot more of us together. So all socials and things like that will be linked below. And stay tuned.
All right, peace out.